Hello, I'm here talking to you today about football helmets. I know all of us know about football. We have that dad that always watches football on Sundays, or everyone has their own favorite team or football player. Me, myself, I love football. I root for plenty of teams. I don't have really a definite team because my family's broken up into Husker and Hawkeye fans. You know how that can go. Well, today we'll be talking to you about football helmets and how they actually aren't really helping out. For my 3 points today, I have how helmets promote a false sense of security, how helmets don't protect against concussions and CTE, and how we can make the sport safer. All right, for my first one is how helmets promote a false sense of security. It's something called risk conception, and risk conception isn't only found in just football. It's also been noted that drivers, if you're wearing a seatbelt, they're more likely to speed up or swerve. And as in football players, they're more likely to tackle head first or lean in with their head just because the helmet makes them feel safer, even though they're actually not. The first helmetless tackling study was actually done by New Hampshire University by Dr. Eric Schwartz. And in this study, he took 50 football players that had at least 2 years of NCAA eligibility, divided them randomly into 2 groups. One was a control group that didn't change the practicing routine or anything. This control group, or not the control group, the other group was the HUT intervention group. And in this group, they taught them some helmetless tackling techniques during practice to try to see if they could reduce the amount of head injuries during games and during practices. And they were all fitted with an X patch for both the control group and the HUT intervention group, just to see and to monitor the head injuries that they sustained during practice and games. About midway through the season, Dr. Eric Schwartz noticed a difference with the HUD intervention group, that they were less likely to tackle head first, and it resulted in a 20% decrease in head injuries on the HUD intervention group. Concussions and CTE. My first topic is concussions. Even though football helmets have gotten better and more safer and technologically advanced, the amount of concussions is still rising. But you would think that since football helmets are getting better, concussions should decrease, but however, that's not the case. And the thing about concussions is, depending on the person, a concussion can take either a few hours or a few weeks to heal. So whereas my brother, he's had concussion before, and all of his concussions have healed within a few hours. Well, let's say 2 football players both get concussions during a game. If they're both not looked at, one person's concussion could heal that day, whereas the other player's concussions would take a few weeks to heal. And if they're both put back into practice in games, the person who still has the concussion that's not fully healed, their head is more sensitive to damage and can result in longer lasting effects. My next thing is actually something that a lot of people don't know about, which is even worse than concussions in football. It's actually chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This is the person's brain before it and after it. What this is, it's the subconcussive hits that build up dozens of times a game, and especially found in linemen. Now, according to the Mayo Clinic, that's their name, some of the side effects of this are difficulty thinking, impulsive behavior, depression, short-term memory loss, difficulty carrying out tasks, emotional instability, substance abuse, suicidal thoughts and behavior, irritability, aggression, speech and language difficulties, motor impairment such as difficulty walking, tremor, loss of movement, trouble swallowing, vision and smelling problems, and dementia. All right, but CTE takes 8 to 10 years for it to build up, and you would think that that's quite a long time. But if you look at it, in junior high, you can play 7th and 8th grade year, that's 2 years. Then if you go over to high school, that's another 4 years. You're already at 6 years, and then your first 2 years of college, you can actually already get CTE, which is really dangerous. Every NFL player, because you can only diagnose CTE after death, every NFL player's deceased brain that has been studied for CTE has a 100% rate of having CTE. There hasn't been one found that didn't have CTE in them. And it's reported that 90% of current NFL players actually have some degree of CTE. Now, this is just a video I have showing basically why helmets won't ever work in football. As you can see, the brain, when 2 players collide, the body and head stop, causing the brain to expand and break its form. Now, the only way to stop this is if you could fit a helmet inside of your head, and that'd be the only way to stop that shaking and movement. So regardless, people are going to be getting hurt, and the injuries are going to happen. I know the contact sport, and a lot of you know you're going to get hit. Well, we're just trying to make the sport safer for the players that we love, so that they don't walk away off the field with all these issues. Now, a few things have been done to help this out, and one of the biggest things that can be done is changing the rules and removing helmets. Changing the rules has made the sport a lot safer. They have actually taken the kickoff from 35-yard line to the 30-yard line, resulting in less distance for players to have to run, resulting in less injuries and tackling done on the way to the touchdown. Another thing that has been done is they've banned heads-down tackling, protecting players' heads, so this won't result in any catastrophic injuries. And to show you guys that actually changing the rules does help, football was actually almost banned in 1905. It was almost not a sport today, and Teddy Roosevelt was actually known as the man who saved football. A lot of people don't know this. Teddy Roosevelt actually helped implement new rules to help save football. Back in between 1900 and 1905, there was actually a reported 45 deaths and many serious injuries to football players, which caused it to be banned at many universities. So then Teddy Roosevelt took it upon himself and brought together all the universities in order to discuss rule changes for the sport. They introduced two new rules: forward pass and unsportsmanlike conduct. Before that, there was no forward pass, no unsportsmanlike conduct. So a bunch of people were huddled around the ball, hitting each other. There were broken necks, broken backs, bashed in skulls. It was one of the bloodiest sports ever. If it wasn't for Teddy Roosevelt, this would have never changed. For a recap, we had how helmets promote a false sense of security, how it doesn't help protect against concussions and CTE, and how it makes football and how to make football safer. Now, like the rest of you, I love football, and I don't want to see the sport go away or change dramatically. But we have to take into account that the way people are being affected in the long term of football isn't right. And if you guys met one of your favorite football players on the team now versus 10 years from now, would you want to see them in such a critical state, walking around shaking, not being able to do much? Thank you.